Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's start out with the defense attorney. Ready? Here we go. And you have been to the murder, I don't know how many murder scenes you have been to, but you have been to bloody murder scenes before, right? Yes. Stabbings, yes. You are familiar with cast-off blood spatter, yes. That is, if somebody is stabbing a person who's laying on a mattress in the middle of Mr. Avery's bedroom repeatedly, there may be blood spatter on the ceilings and walls from the knife. There may be. And there was none in this case, right? None that we found. And no clumps of a woman's hair that were found cut off anywhere in the bedroom. That's correct. No trail of blood, as one would expect if you carry a body that's been stabbed on the mattress of Mr. Avery's bedroom through the house and out the back door, unless it was cleaned up. No, we didn't see anything. And outside on the back porch or on the front porch, that wooden deck, no blood trail dripping, right? If they would have went that way, they could have went out the back door also, all right, which has a little stoop, concrete steps, yes. No blood in there, right? Not that I know of. No blood trail leading into the garage of Mr. Avery or out. Into the garage or out. Outside the garage, no, not that I know of. Okay, and inside the garage, a few blood stains, but not Teresa Hallback's blood, right? Correct. So in short then, by March 1st and March 2nd, when those search warrants were issued, 4 months of investigation had found not one shred of Teresa Hallback's DNA anywhere in Mr. Avery's trailer or garage. Isn't that right, sir? Yes. Thank you. All right, redirect, Mr. Kratz. Absolutely. Agent Fassbender, describe for the jury the circumstances surrounding what Mr. Buting now calls the discovery of this letter from Green Bay. Why were you with Mr. Buting? Mr. Buting was being allowed to look at the evidence that was in our possession or in the Calumet County's possession. Do you remember who else was present? I believe Attorney Strang was there also. Do you remember Mr. Gahn being there? Yes. Do you remember Mr. Buting asking the prosecution if that letter could be dusted for prints? Yes. Do you remember agreeing to do that for Mr. Buting? Yes. Not forcing Mr. Buting to go to his own lab, but you would do it for him. Is that right? That's correct. And even though this letter had to do with the smelter, had you already eliminated the smelter as a place where Ms. Hallback could have been burned in this case? Yes. Now, wait a second. You have already eliminated the smelter, and this letter has nothing to do with the case. Why did you send it off for prints for Mr. Buting? Because he asked us to do it. Mr. Buting also asked you to look at some photos today. I think it's Exhibit 142 and 143 of some tarps. Do you still have them up here? No, I don't. Do you know where those exhibits are? I will get them. I think I put them back. Just 142 and 143 for now. Is this Exhibit 142, Mr. Fassbender? No, I have got 143 and 144 here. Well, look at the screen here. I want to know which exhibit this is. That, I believe that's 144. Yes, 144. All right, Mr. Buting asked if, from this vantage point, if a law enforcement officer would be able to see the SUV. Do you remember that question? Yes. What was your answer? Well, I can see where the SUV was tarped. All right, you can't see the SUV though, can you? No. Do you know where? You were when this picture was taken. I may have been by the SUV doing the tarping. That's 143 and 144. This was the second exhibit that Mr. Buting showed you. Do you have this up there, Mr. Fassbender? 143, yes. Once again, the suggestion that if you were from this location, you couldn't see if somebody was approaching or tampering with the vehicle. I object to that specific suggestion. That wasn't my question. Certainly the inference, Judge, that's why he showed it. Otherwise, it has no relevance. Why don't you rephrase the question? All right. Do you remember Mr. Buting's line of questioning about not being able to see this vehicle? Yes. Okay, now as we learned earlier in this trial, you put your cursor over a digital photo, says the date that it was taken, 11/5 and 4:16 p.m. Do you see that on the screen? Yes. Okay, and exactly the same time and date as the previous picture. Do you see that? Yes, I do. The picture right before that Mr. Buting did not want you to see. Objection to that. Sustained. I will rephrase it. The picture that Mr. Buting did not show the jury shows a bunch of people walking up at the same time, the same location towards the SUV. Do you see that picture? Yes, I do. And whether or not Mr. Buting has it in his possession, are you one of those people? Yes. Are you walking towards that tarped SUV that Mr. Buting suggested you couldn't see? Yes. One picture after that Mr. Buting didn't show, you see some other officers walking towards that tarped vehicle along with myself. Yes. Same time, same location, same tarped vehicle. Is that right? Yes. Let me ask you, Agent Fassbender, do you believe that at the time that these photos were taken, you were in a position to see if anybody either tampered with or entered that vehicle? Almost certainly. Under whose control was that particular vehicle at that particular time? The Calumet County Deputy Agent Fassbender, the defense attorney, Mr. Buting, asked. And in fact, I wrote down his question, whether or not on the 5th of November, the first search by Mr. Tyson and Remaker, whether or not there was any evidence that was found that was linked to Ms. Hallbeck. Do you remember that question? Yes. Do you remember what your answer was? I believe it was no. Okay. Do you remember on that first search a note with Ms. Hallbeck's phone number being seized from Mr. Avery's computer table? Yes, I do. And that note with Ms. Hallbeck's phone number had the words "back to patio door." Do you see that? Yes, I do. Do you recall now that that was seized on November 5th? Yes. Would you say that that is some evidence that was seized on the 5th that is obviously linked to Ms. Hallbeck? Your Honor, I'm sorry. Do you have a copy that we could mark, please? I do. I can have this marked. What I will do, Judge, is state for the record that it is item number 041. That item number corresponds to discovery that defense was sent. Unless there is an objection by counsel, I will replace it with an exhibit number. We can certainly do that, Your Honor. What is the next exhibit number? All right, let's make it 148. That's fine. I just wanted it marked for the record. I appreciate it. Thank you, counsel. What will be item number 149 seized from the same computer table is another sign with Ms. Hallbeck's phone number. Is that correct? That's correct. Was that seized on the 5th of November as well? Yes, it was, sir. This address, 3302 Xander Road, we'll get into that with other witnesses. But do you now believe that this is connected to Ms. Hallback? It's her phone number, isn't it? That's her phone number, yes. Now, what will be item 150? Do you recall now what that an Auto Trader magazine was seized from Mr. Avery's residence that evening? Yes, I do. This is the identical Auto Trader magazine that Ms. Zipper received that she had testified earlier. You were in court when that was testified to, wasn't it? Yes. Also, identically to Ms. Zipper, what will be exhibit number 151 was a bill of sale, also found on Mr. Avery's computer table, again identical to that received by Ms. Zipper. Do you recall that now being seized on the 5th of November, don't you? Yes, I do. Let me ask you, Mr. Fassbender, do you know how many items of physical evidence were seized in this case alone, the Avery homicide investigation? Upwards of 970. All right, that will conclude our Q&A practice.